Hello to all our fans and listeners. I, I'm just kidding. So, this episode actually has been divided into two parts for good reason. So, the second part of this episode will be published 2 weeks after this one has been published. So, stay tuned. It's a good one.
Hey everybody,
Yo, yo, yo.
welcome back to Unofficially Opinionated, the podcast where we talk about anything and share our unofficial opinions. Per usual, I'm Christian, joined as usual by Nate and Tim. What's up, guys?
Huh?
Oh, what is going on? Nate's getting frisky today,
Yeah.
and Tim's giving the thumbs up.
Nice.
Means it's all good?
Yeah. Everything's good. I mean, I spent the entire day putting up a greenhouse, and
Look at
we have
you.
still not finished. So, uh,
You should have some separate YouTube
sorry, you
channel,
see
Nate,
that?
where they follow your gardening and
I
chalet
was
journey.
actually working on that. So I took some videos of me planting carrots. I used three different methods to plant carrots. But it's my first time like doing it. So
Nice.
yeah, Liam's friend, she also said the same thing. She's like, you really should just because I don't I don't know how to explain that. So no, I'm not even gonna continue with
You know
that.
what? You know what? I'm not even gonna ask any further questions.
Yeah,
uh,
there
okay,
you
so
go.
Nate's been in the greenhouse, or really building a greenhouse.
Building a greenhouse. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's new with you, Tim? What's been going on of late?
Uh, just trying to get things put together. My grandparents are about to have their 70th anniversary,
Wedding
and
anniversary?
yeah, and so we've
Wow.
been trying
Nice.
to get all that stuff together, and there's been all kind of stuff going on just in the past week. It's been kind of crazy.
Sounds fun. Sounds fun. Sounds fun. Yeah, so I told you guys earlier that I last night the family and I went to a concert and I said it was Leslie Odom and both of you were like, "Who? What? Why?" So I've already given you your homework that you're to watch both Hamilton and Glass Onion.
Listen,
If you
I've
get,
already forgotten.
I know, and if you get a chance, which I haven't watched yet, but One Night in Miami on Prime is also a good one that stars Leslie Odom.
Okay.
The man can act, the man can sing. So it was a great concert. He did a lot of Nat King Cole songs.
Okay.
That's kind of his lane. So he did a lot of those,
Hmm.
and it's also a few songs from Hamilton. And his wife came on and they did a couple songs together. So that was kind of cool because it was basically
Wow.
it was supposed to have been in December, but
Hmm.
it had to get rescheduled because he was filming a movie that went over too long and he couldn't
Okay.
actually make it. So this was the rescheduled show. So it was cool. But
Okay. That's a
yeah,
very long reschedule. It's 3 months, right?
yeah, it was yeah. But I'm glad they were able to make it happen at all, right? Because who
Right.
knows, how that kind of
Yeah.
stuff works with schedules. If you can even,
That's cool.
make
He's
it
an
back.
actor and a singer. He plays an instrument as well, or he was
I
just singing
don't
in a
know the
concert.
instruments, but mostly
Oh,
what from
okay.
my scene is just kind of acting and
Singing.
singing. But yeah,
Okay.
so
I have to
Leslie
check out
Odom,
who
check it
Leslie
out.
Odom. You said. Wait, hold up. I'm
Yes,
gonna type that in and see what I get. How do you spell that? Odom
Odom. Look it up,
Junior.
check it out. Yes, Leslie Odom Jr. Yes, I'm not sure. I forgot the junior, but I typically do that. It's not on purpose.
He does not look familiar. I don't.
Oh my god.
My goodness, yeah, I
I
know. Let's
can't.
see. Glass
You guys
Onions,
just uncivilized.
Hamilton, Harriet, The Exorcist. Nothing that I've watched.
I'm just.
Yeah, my
I
bad.
can't. I can't. I can't do it.
Listen,
But
I am going to try to. I'm gonna look him up and see what
yeah.
that's
So
about.
that was our fun evening. We got to his wife and he also wrote a children's book, and so if you bought a signed copy of the book, well, if you bought a copy of the book, you were able to get him to sign it and get a picture included.
Oh,
So it was a super long line for that.
my goodness.
So
Wait, did you get it signed?
absolutely,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So
Okay.
we got that book signed. We bought a copy. We couldn't get both books signed because it was just too many people. But we also got a
Hmm.
copy of his. Has a memoir out. I think it's called Failing Up. I think something like that. So that'll
Okay.
be interesting to read.
That is interesting.
Yes,
Or at
very
least the
interesting.
topic is.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I like it. He told a little bit. He talked a little bit about how when Lin Manuel was just kind of trying to get Hamilton out there, there was
hmm.
like this very first kind of reading of what at the time was called, I think, the Hamilton mixtape.
Okay.
It was like about 100 people were there, and Leslie, had heard about it. His wife was going to that same school, and so he was trying to get in there to kind of be able to see it. He happened to know an usher that happened to let him into that first showing of it.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
he was kind of like he said a fan from the beginning,
Hmm.
never even considering that
That
he
he
would
could.
star in it,
You're
right,
right.
and
Yeah.
just change his whole life.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, it's just so
Talk
interesting,
about having good friends.
right? Exactly,
Networking.
yeah. So yeah, that was my evening. I mean, other than that, just been the typical, work stuff. Spring is finally here, getting some
Yeah.
better weather. We
Yeah.
have. I'm
Still
gonna
cold
call
though.
them. Yeah, it's not too bad here, but I'm gonna call them invasive. My wife used the term, but we have. So when we moved in, there were some tulips planted on the side of the house, right?
Yeah.
And every year we see a few more of them just like randomly in the yard somewhere, like they just show up.
But tulips are beautiful. It's not like a weed or anything like that.
They're weeds because we didn't put them there. This year we look out and there's like a whole bunch more
Oh,
like we didn't
wow.
but they're not, I guess, mature enough to even bloom, so they're
Hmm.
just, it's like these green shoots that are like super
Oh,
tall because
yeah.
the grass hasn't really grown yet, and I'm like, oh, okay, so
That's boring.
it's time to get the
It'd be much better if there
sorry
was like,
buds.
yeah.
I, I guess they're bulbs. Not really buds.
Oh, hilarious.
Oh my
Interesting.
goodness. Dad jokes, dad jokes. All right,
Yeah.
well, that was kind of, I guess, our week. Sounds like you guys are off building things, and I'm just enjoying life and going to concerts. So, hey,
Yeah, man, listen.
why
Well, I'm
not?
building
Why
things
not?
and like digging things and like planting things. Yeah.
Being productive, literally producing
That's
things. Look
true.
at you. Look at
Yeah. Well,
you.
yeah, I'm trying to live off the grid.
Oh
No,
my
I'm not.
goodness.
But
Living off the land. Only was meant.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, today, folks, Nate decided he wanted to do something different, and
Yes.
he has a super secret topic for us. So Tim and I have no idea what's about to happen today. So,
No.
Nate, take it away. What do we got?
Yeah. So I just I come up with this, but it's something that, I mean, you all know me for this anyway. But you all know. Well, first of all, I want to start up by like, you all know how I am. Like we've talked about it in the past on podcast, but also just amongst ourselves, and you know where I come from and like where I'm at and like how I've gotten here. You know,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it seems maybe super fantastical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Accurate.
Yeah, and I wanted to kind of share that with you all, and then do an activity with you. So when I say share that, you all know, but our listeners, perhaps they don't know. And since I want to go into life coaching or something to that effect, I still haven't kind of nailed down exactly what it is. I think it's a life coaching that I would like to go into, because just very directly, there's just a lot of people who kind of feel like they're like in a dead end, like they're going to work, and coming home back to their family if they have families or whatever, but still just they don't feel like very fulfilled. And I know this just because I talk to a lot of people and they tell me this, and I don't ask them. Like I just talked to them, and then they're like, I'm doing okay, blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden, no, this is crap. Like, I feel like I can't get anywhere, and blah blah blah. And it's very heartbreaking because I do feel like humans have a lot of potential, and I think that we are not meant to just, unless you want to do a 9 to 5 and just do a 9 to 5 and not do anything else, you've got more to offer. And I think this world was meant for us to enjoy. So a lot of people complain about the rich and blah 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 blah. I don't think that those are the people that we really should be focusing on. I really feel like you should focus on yourself. You know, um, so for me, you all can chime in and validate or just be like, or ask questions or whatever. But for me, I came from literally nothing. I think I've mentioned this in the other podcast. I think all three of us basically, we were just really uh, below the poverty line, sort of thing. And for me, I came from a, like, my mom was a single parent, with raising two boys, and we were on welfare and stuff like that. And for me, I just always had this, like, again, we talked about this in the podcast with Steve actually, but I had this mentality of being unaware of a lot of things, so I don't know if that helped contribute to my successes. I kind of feel like it did because it prevented me from having a lot of baggage, I think, that I would I might have to deal with, because already I do have baggage that I have to deal with mentally. And that can be kind of like a breaking, or a break in the in negative sense, like just kind of stopping things, um, when it shouldn't be the case. Like, you start worrying about things that you shouldn't be worrying about. You start overthinking. I'm an overthinker, so you start overthinking things that you really should not even be in your mind.
Hmm.
It serves no purpose. You understand what I mean? Like,
Right.
there's a lot of things that we think about, that we worry about, that we fear, that serves literally no purpose. So, and then what's also interesting is that additionally, all three of us come from a Christian background, and excuse me, from a Christian point of view, we shouldn't be worried about things anyway. Like, things should be, according to what we believe the Bible says, like, we should be, there's that text in Deuteronomy 28. It's
I knew he
like,
was gonna
you'll
go
be
there.
the, huh?
I said I knew he was gonna go there, but
Yeah.
Deuteronomy.
The text,
Hmm.
somewhat, the
Somewhat,
text, like,
somewhat.
you'll be like, the head, not the tail. You'll lend to many nations and not borrow. Um,
Hmm.
You'll be blessed in the field, stuff like that. Like, we're supposed to believe, well, as Christians, we're supposed to believe that that is the thing. Like, we've been taught that is, at least, right? You all have heard these things, right?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
But do you all think that that is an actuality, or at least an abundant actuality? Like, have you all seen that happen in person?
Yes,
Like, all of these blessings and stuff, you have seen that happen in person? Like, has it happened to you?
yes, but it's hard.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's hard to focus on it because, like, when my thing is, like, I have kids now, and before I had kids, yeah, that was my mindset. You know, I wasn't focusing on, like, the things that I thought I needed. I was like, as long as I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing what I'm supposed to do, those things will come.
Mm-hmm.
But I was comfortable with that, with me, you know. But when I had kids,
Mm-hmm. It becomes harder.
it becomes not harder. It becomes different
Okay.
because you know you don't you think you're in when your kids are young. You're thinking you're in protection mode. You know, you're always considering. What are you gonna? How are you gonna feed them? You're the A, B, and C's of parenting. Those are the things that are consistently on your mind.
Hmm.
Um, so it's different. It's you don't feel as free because if something happens to me, oh, my story is over. But I have kids, so I have to pay attention to how my kids are being upbred. I mean, how they're,
Brought up. Yeah.
thank you.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I have to pay attention to all these aspects outside of myself and contributing only to them. And so like it's different.
Okay. I really appreciate that point of view. Very interesting. Okay. And what about you, Chris?
Yeah, I think a lot of it, it's difficult, I think, for I think it's somewhat contradictory for some sets of Christians to, I think, take that to heart because there's this very big fear of being greedy, right?
I like that.
Or
Yeah.
being seen as like too worldly. So it's almost like there's these two huge kind of wings of this belief that kind of operate kind of what you see publicly, right? There's the one wing where it's like, hey, make it, claim it, prosperity, whatever, like make a
Right.
church, like Bentleys and all this like extra stuff, right?
Right.
Um, and then there's the like, I don't want to talk about money, like let me just give everything away, like I shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
have anything. I
Mm-hmm.
if I'm enjoying life, then something is wrong. Like I should be destitute and humble and meek and like all this other stuff, right? And I
Yeah.
think it's difficult for us to reconcile the two, right? Like,
Mm.
hey, look, like it's not bad to be successful. It's bad to be selfish,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's bad to be successful on the backs of others, which is in a lot of ways the way capitalism works in at least this country, the United States. I'm not gonna speak for every country because I'm not there, but I know at least
Right.
here, like right, like it's not anywhere near like equal, and it's like people get obscenely rich on the backs of people that really can barely even like buy groceries, right? And
Right.
so I think when we see that, it's like I don't want to be associated with like the rich people, right? And so I kind of maybe aim lower, right? Like if
Mm-hmm.
you kind of tend to not always get what you aim for, but like if you're aiming down here, then that's where you're gonna go. And if you're looking here, right, like that's what you're gonna see,
Yeah.
So to me, it's also a focus thing of hey, like one, do I even believe that this is something good to even pursue? Because
Right.
if I don't internalize that I believe it's good to be successful,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm gonna, in some ways, keep kind of sabotaging myself
Yep.
so that I don't get it. I don't know. That was a kind of a long, lengthy, whatever,
No, but
but
that
that's
No,
was
just
I get it.
some thoughts I had as you
that
were
is
kind of talking through that.
very, very good actually. And those are very significant points that I wanted to talk about. So this is true. From a Christian point of view, we it's something I've had to uh, struggle with a lot. Yes. Uh, sorry, trying to get my English right. Um, uh, this idea of abundance, because yes, like you were saying, Christian, if you kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, do you claim the promises of God, or do you claim being destitute because you got to be humble and not what did Jesus say? It's hard to serve two gods. You
Two
can
masters.
only two masters. Yeah, like you're stuck between these two places. Like you're like, do I claim abundance, or like do I just am I destitute? Do I have nothing? Like where does it come from? And to echo also Tim's point, for both of these all of these issues, it really just depends. From what I have learned my own self, from what I've learned, it really depends on where you put your mind, right? So here's maybe like the bigger issue. I like what you said, Christian, about you get what you aim for. That is actually it, and that is the problem, right? Because the Christians that I know do not aim very high at all, for pretty much the same reasons that both of you all mentioned.
We're taught not to aim.
There's or try not to, yeah, because you don't want to be disappointed. And then also, like, even if there's a lot of times where I've seen where for Christians specifically, if they ask for something and they don't get it, they're just like, oh, well, this is kind of BS. Like they keep doing it because they're like, well, it's something that we have to do. You know, you're supposed to pray and stuff like that. But there's a lot of Christians who just will not ask God for something specifically. They feel like if they want it, they have to do it themselves. You know,
Well,
like whatever. So yeah. Well, what?
oh no, what I was saying earlier is like, and sometimes in a way we're kind of taught not to aim. You know, like,
Yeah.
like I think it's in James, and where he was talking about when he was talking about prayer, and he was talking about there's a basically there's a difference between how the heathen pray, and
Mm-hmm.
he was saying the heathen basically asks for things, and you know and then the children of God, they ask not, and they just receive. So basically, like, basically it's like saying
I
God
don't
knows.
recall that.
It's in James. I have to bring it up. I have to find it.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
he was basically saying, you know, God already knows what you need. Just basically pray, and He'll give you what you need. There's no reason to ask because He already knows what you need. You know, he's saying the heathen asks for
Yes.
stuff.
That is a concept. Yeah. So Jesus did mention that if we, or in the Bible, Jesus did mention that if we, I mean, that God already knows what we need. You know, I do think that it is mentioned also in the New Testament. Um, he already knows what we're going to ask for before we ask it, but that doesn't mean, from what I've learned, it doesn't mean not to ask, right? So it just means you have to learn. You have to learn, which is something I had to learn. You have to learn what to ask, what you're asking for, and then eventually kind of how to ask it. But that starts by actually asking, you know. And I feel like a lot of people are afraid of asking because perhaps they don't know how to ask, or they feel like if they ask they'll be too greedy or something like that. What I would propose, because this is what I did, was you just jump in with both feet and you just ask for what it is that you want, right? You aim for what it is that you want. And if it's too greedy, if it's literally too greedy, God will help you understand that it's too greedy. He's not going to shut you down. He's not going to knock you down a peg. He is a loving father who will be like, this is not something that you need, but I will give you something that will be equivalent, but something that you can actually manage, right? So I ask God for a lot of really big things, and I've also realized that the things that I ask for aren't big enough, you know. So I ask Him for big things compared to what I have previously known, and so my kind of thinking is, I guess, small compared to what I should really be asking Him. How do I know? It's because of what is found in Deuteronomy 28. He's like, I will give you all of these things, you know. The only um, caveat is that you, well, do you all know what the caveat is? Hold up. We're just going to take a pause real quick. All right. We're back. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we just took a quick break, but what I was talking about was just basically aiming high and letting God correct you if you need to be corrected, you know, basically. And
Yeah, well, one thing I was thinking about, Nate, just real quick, is that you were talking about kind of growing up and, your kind of, you didn't use this word, but I guess obliviousness really helping you to just kind of plow forward. And
yeah,
really for me, it kind of, I had the opposite effect, right? Whereas, my siblings, by the time they were, I guess, I wouldn't say sentient, but more aware of what's happening in life, right? Like we were in a much better place financially, right? But I remembered
right.
kind of us kind of being pretty good and then like nothing and then coming back up, right? And so the
Mm-hmm.
nothing part I remember very vividly. And so I got in the habit of like, again, I'm also the eldest child. So like I'm gonna not be a burden, right? So
Right.
I'm going to pre-select and say no to myself versus asking you and forcing you to say no to me.
Right.
Right. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
already just
Yep.
not asking for things because I assume we can't afford it and we don't have it. Right.
Right.
And I just think I remember like as I was older, like my dad being like, why were you doing that? He's like, we're not poor. He's like, we can
Mm-hmm.
do stuff if you would just ask. And I was like, you never told me that we weren't poor anymore. Right? Like I mean, I see things happening, right? And like, we can see how this metaphor goes, but like I see things happening, I see things progressing, but
Mm-hmm.
mentally I was still back here as far as like what I
Mm-hmm.
thought we were capable of doing. And
Mm-hmm.
just that limited even my imagination for what I could even ask for or what was even possible. Forget even what I was going to ask for.
Yeah.
What was even possible was limited because of my, I don't know use the word trauma, but I guess my kind of mental, I guess, adjustment I made to kind of manage through that. So, I'm sure
Yeah.
similarly the kind of a similar thing there.
But that's a very good point. Yes. So I was oblivious to a lot of things while I was growing up, but I did have um a very I have sensitivity to people and to emotions and stuff like that. So if I'm asking, for example, God to heal somebody and they're not healed and they end up dying, I feel that I think a little bit more, if even if it's not somebody who's like related to me or something like that, I feel that a little stronger than a lot of other people do because um like I have my hope set here, and like God's like, ask me for whatever you want, and Jesus is like over here healing people and raising people from the dead, and I'm just asking God, they're still alive, so it's definitely a possibility. When they die, I'm just like, that affects me very deeply because then I'm just like, well, is this a lie? Like, am I misunderstanding this, or whatever? And then that plays a role in doubting and whether what is written in the Bible is true or not. And something that I've had to learn is get out of my way of thinking. And that actually something you have to learn because, like you said, Chris, we come up with these we built these, like Tim was talking about when he was having, he might have been thinking more, um, you know, objectively, I guess, or, I can have this or that or whatever until you had kids. And then, not that kids are a bad thing, but then that brings on something else into your mind, and you're not even paying attention. You just know you have to take care of these kids. You have to make sure that these kids are responsible human beings. Thank you, Tim and Chris.
We're trying.
Like, yeah, right.
Right.
But you have to, and then that becomes not a burden. Like, kids are not a burden, I don't think, but just for you as a person, it becomes something else that you have to,
It changes your
work through.
focus.
Yeah, it changes a lot of things, but and this is what happens, like, during life we just bring on these things, and we don't actually really handle them. I don't think. We just are like, this is the way it is, but I don't feel like personally this is the way it is. I'm not a parent, so I don't have any advice for you, but
It's like, good luck.
So yeah, right. But I have dealt with a lot of other things that you all are very well aware of, like, I went to Christian. You didn't have much issue, I don't think, getting into university because your dad was a pastor, so you got your tuition kind of reduced. I think that was what it was. Like, I went to university with literally 200 bucks, right? And university was, at the time, if I'm not mistaken, it was 35,000 a year, if that's something like that, right?
Sounds close to it, probably, with that tuition and room and board and all that.
Yeah,
Probably.
something like that. 35. I went to school with 200 bucks, right? And I made it through. Like, granted, I ended up getting loans at the beginning, and my mom was trying to get me not to get loans, but I'm thinking, why not? Like, yeah, and her thing was she was quoting Deuteronomy 28, where it's like you'll be the head, not the tail, and I'm like, but currently I'm not living in that situation. You know, currently I'm not living in a situation where God is just throwing out, getting me through a bunch of things. I think this is a learning process. This is what I told her. I was like, this is a learning process. I have to learn how to be there. And I haven't learned that yet, but just because I borrow this money from whomever, which was the government, just because I borrow this money, it doesn't mean that God can't later give me the possibility of paying it all back.
Right. And you know,
You know what I mean?
we get into a whole thing around the context and like the society we live in now, right? Because it's not like you were like going to like some loan shark or some like
Right.
big
And there's that.
person, like,
Yes. Right.
hey, like, no, I personally
Sitting
owe
in front
you
of her.
$1,000, right? Like,
Right.
the way,
Yeah.
the way society works is a little bit different. Now, I wouldn't say go out and get a loan, for a new boat that you want, or something that's superfluous, right? Like I need a new purse. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
that's not what we're here to get into debt for.
Not enough
Well,
yachts.
not a what?
Not enough yachts.
No.
Right.
Well, I don't think that personally, I don't believe that there is any limit to the things that you want. To be honest, I think that there's a lot of things that we can achieve, get, or whatever, that we haven't dared to allow ourselves to believe we can have. So like, for example, I do want a yacht. I'm not going to take out a loan to get a
Right.
yacht, because for me it's not. No, I want a yacht, but I don't want. There's no need for me to take out a loan. Plus, I'm still paying off the school loans, and I'm like $300,000 in debt, right? So we'll pay that off, then we'll get a yacht, But I think that's the responsible thing to do. But I am of the very strong belief that I will be able to pay off that loan probably this year, but I haven't verified that. But I'm hoping this year. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't. But I tell you all this because you've heard me talk like this before. You've heard me. You've seen me go to university on $200. You've seen me come to Europe with $100. You've seen me live in Europe for how long was it? For a year on less than $1,000. You have seen that. So what I'm telling you all is it's not a lie. Like, I'm not making this stuff up, and I've written it in my journals, and I've told multiple people. So they're like, and multiple people have seen it. So like, there are many different witnesses just everywhere, right? So just in case any of our listeners don't believe me, it is true. Like, I have a house, and I don't even have a job. So or a source of income, but it all ends up.
But you're also
working
married.
out.
It's not like you're not you're literally.
But see, this is the thing. Like, you don't know. Like, so I wanted to get married, and I wanted to have a house, and this is what happened.
Right. Well, see, I guess in totality, right? Like you have it. I guess it is literally true, right? Like you are not working, you're able to live in Europe. So how it happened, So it happens.
Yeah, and before, and I was living in Europe, and I wasn't married, and I didn't know anybody. I was all alone, and things was just working. I went to Brazil with no money. Yeah, I didn't know where the money came from. It just came. I went to just the most recent, really big thing that happened. Well, it's not the most recent, but pretty recent. It was last year, anyways. But I went to this party. I wanted to go to this party. Kinky party. And I didn't have any money to go because I really wanted to just get out. Like working at the grocery store during COVID and stuff like that, the pandemic or whatever, it had taken its toll. Like, I was okay being a home, whatever, but I had to work during the pandemic at a grocery store with a bunch of crazy people, and that took its toll. Like, after a while, I was just like, these people are crazy. Like, this is when you see the pinnacle of crazy. Well, it's probably not the pinnacle, to be honest, but there were some crazy people, and I was just like, get me out. So I had to work with that, and so I was just like, listen, now we can get out. Now we can go to parties. I really want to go to this um, party. Um, and that was it. Like all I said was, I want to go to this party. I would like to go to this party. And then I got the same kind of feeling that I did before, which was like, you'll be able to go to this party. There wasn't a voice, just a feeling. It was like a feeling, an undeniable feeling. So I started making plans to go to the party, and then this money came out of nowhere. I mean, I know where it came from, but I wasn't expecting it.
Right.
Like, maybe if I had all the intelligence and wisdom in the world, I'd have been like, oh yeah, no, I know where that would have come from, so I could have planned ahead of time. But I don't. I just wanted to go to the party, and I got to go. And what's additionally, went to this party. A lot of people ended up with COVID, right? And then a lot of other people ended up with what's that? Monkeypox, right?
Oh no.
I ended up with nothing.
Dodge bullet on that one.
So I do not know. I don't know. I don't know. I just say I'm blessed. I can't. But anyway, so I just wanted to share with you all kind of some things that I do for anyone who's listening who might be interested or whatever, because it's not just for me. It's not just for certain people. This is for anybody. You can be rich, you can be poor, whatever. I remember when in high school they used to talk about this idea of scarcity, or whatever. So this is what makes so many things, more valuable and stuff like that. That's a very human concept, in my opinion, scarcity. I feel like, especially if you're a Christian, you believe that God created the entire world, and then you don't think that he can make you, whatever it is that you want. So one of the things that I did want to mention, though, I was asking you all about that, was, did you know the caveat that he put on Deuteronomy 28, where he was like, I will, bless your fields and all this other stuff? Y'all remember?
I am not gonna
It's
guess.
the same thing everywhere. You say you're not going to guess?
I'm not gonna guess, but I feel like something about following something.
Yeah.
Sound about
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
that
not
sounds
gonna
it.
guess
That's
it
it. That's
because
it.
I'll go out in left field like LeBron James. So
Slaughter your firstborn.
it's just like
No. It's very simple. It's very much like he said, keep my commandments, and the commandments that he's obviously talking about is love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And he was like, do not turn from these, because when you do, curses will come upon you, which is true. Like you can have money, and if you're just like an evil person, you're just not going to enjoy it. And knowing God just brings up this peace when you realize that you ain't got literally anything to worry about, which is a growing process. It's not like immediate. It's not like, oh, I know God, now I'm not afraid of anything. No, that doesn't work. I've tried it. So it's a growing process, but that's it. Love God and love people, basically. That's a song, by the way. I forgot the name of that song. But anyways, so I just wanted to. So that's very important. So I just wanted to kind of give you all a thing that I learned. I learned yesterday, but I thought it was very useful, because there's a million different ways that you could do this. You could do it by meditating. I meditate, but I don't do the meditating, empty your head, whatever. No, because I also have ADHD, so it's almost impossible to empty my head. But when I meditate, I just kind of I'm trying to focus on talking to God, or I'm focusing on deciding if I want certain things. I'm like, do I want this? Maybe not. Maybe I prefer it this way, or whatever the situation is, whatever, but try not to overthink, whatever. So it's what they call dynamic meditation, but whatever. Excuse me. There's the Silva mind control thing that we spoke about in another episode. There is just praying, if you do that, but I feel like praying, for me, I do that still, but I feel like it's kind of work. I mean, I don't feel like a real connection, I suppose, and I kind of want to feel like I am talking directly to God and that He's going to answer.
I th-
So yeah, go ahead, Tim.
uh, um, I think when that concept, when people say praying and stuff like that, I think that I think I don't think there's a real way to pray, and people have
There
this
isn't.
concept of what it is to pray, and that's and I think I don't. I think everything you just said are just different methods of praying. I
Yes, you're correct. You're
so
correct. I agree with that. The reason why I said I don't, I still pray. I do pray, but I don't what I consider what we pray, like get on your knees, and that's what I had in mind when I said
I've
I
never done
don't.
that.
I do that. So I do that sometimes when there's something that's really weighing on me that I want to talk to God about, um, and so I do that sometimes. But otherwise, you're absolutely right. I just talk to God. I talk to God like I'm talking to you all. If I'm upset, I tell him I'm upset and why or whatever. If I feel like I'm being greedy, I tell him I feel like I'm being greedy, but this is what I want. And just and just because we don't know everything in the world, and so we have to remember that we don't know everything in the world, and just let him do his job. Let him teach us. You know, whatever, but you can't just like stop and just live your life. Let him teach us. If we're going the wrong way, he'll bring us back to the right way. Like that's just the way it works. So we are going to do a little thing that I found on the internet, and I can link him in. I'll link the YouTube the YouTube channel in. I guess he does this professionally. No, I've totally forgotten his name. I'll link it in. But anyways, I guess he does this professionally, and so he's not coming at it from like a Christian point of view. I am, because I want to have a relationship with like I have a relationship with God, and I want it to be stronger. Like there's a lot of things y'all know the things I want to do. So like God is real serious to me. But excuse me, he doesn't do it in that way. But one of his things to I used one of his kind of techniques, and I thought it was really good because it helps us refocus on the things that we actually want, that we actually desire. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to help refocus us on the things that we actually desire. I know it's going to be hard to retain this in your head, which is why he has another step to help you do it. It's very easy, and I feel like this will kind of maybe jumpstart, jumpstart your um, your walk to improving your life, which however you want to improve it. So you don't have to share anything if you don't want to. If you want to, that's fine. You don't have to share anything, but I do want you all to go through the activity with me. And anyone who's listening, if you're interested, you can do this activity as well. It's very easy. There is a step that he does before. I don't know if I want to have you all do it because I don't know if I'm skilled enough to direct it. But basically, what he's saying is that you step back in your mind, kind of close your eyes, you step back in your mind and look, are the thoughts that are in your head actually your thoughts, or are they just there and you listen to them? And quite often for me, they're just thoughts that I've from things that people have told me or just things that just come into my head. They're not actually my thoughts. I just decide whether I'm going to focus on these thoughts or not, sort of thing. And some thoughts are much louder and much harder to get rid of than others because of, baggage, just because of how we've been brought up, or, what we've been taught our entire lives, or even just recently or stuff like that. Just baggage. But you get to actually decide. So, but I don't know. I'm not skilled enough to kind of walk you through that, but that is pretty interesting to be able to do because it helps you go to God and just be like, dude, I don't know why I have these thoughts. Just be like, lay it out and just be like, I want to be here, but I'm actually over here. So help. You know what I mean? So anyways, these are the things that I do. So whatever.
remember to stay tuned for part 2. And while you wait, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on our social media accounts, and feel free to leave a comment.